Hey guys, this is Blazin from Lords of Death, and today I'm going to go over my Confessor build. I've been getting questions about this basically since launch. Every video I post has mainly been Confessor gameplay, and I pretty much always get a question about my build. So here it is. Let's start with the talents in the build itself. So I basically took 4 stat nodes. You see there's the 4 stat nodes going top and bottom. That does mean that I give up Magma Ball, I give up the Miner slot, I give up Fervor, but it's a lot of stats. It's a whole lot of stats. So I pick up Righteousness, I pick up Feel the Burn, which actually ends up being quite a lot of damage, Hellfire Shield, and then, all these, and I go the Justice Domain. And that kind of dictates the disciplines that I use. So did not take Fervor because you really just don't need it. I mean, if you're in a group, you pretty much always have a cleric running mana for you. Otherwise, your ultimate gives a decent amount of mana. Righteousness returns a decent amount of mana. I just felt like I never really needed it. So it really becomes a question of what's better, Magma Ball and the Minor Discipline or this stat node. And I honestly think the stats are better. That 40 int means you're putting 40 more points into Dex, which is 4% crit strike, on top of all these defensive stats, additional, health, resist, PDM. It's, it ends up being a lot. So that's why I go for stat nodes. Discipline-wise, Paragon. Paragon is really good for a couple reasons. Vengeful Aura is really nice to have. It's 75 attack power, and it's for your whole group. Rehabilitation is really your only self-heal outside of bandages for a Confessor, and the reason it is so good is because it does scale with healing bonus. And as you can see, my healing bonus is pretty high because it scales with intelligence, which is the main damage stat for a Confessor. So next is Redeemer. This has pretty much become a no-brainer for Confessors. Redemption's a very strong power, and concentration's okay. It's usually, you're usually not standing still enough to utilize it a whole lot, other than maybe bandaging, or if you're like, auto-attacking a Bane tree or something like that. You'll get some mana back that way. Miners. So Careless Whisper I really like because you get that extra 10% crit strike, which when you're running, I'm at 200% crit damage right now. That's no buffs at all. So, I'm pretty much at 220% or basically capped. I think I cap at 215%. So if you figure that 10% crit strike proc is essentially worth 10% more damage. Actually, a little more than 10% more damage. It's more like 12% more damage every time that procs. So it's pretty significant. And this rune also has attack power on it. I've only got a green one right now, but it would be up to 50 attack power at legendary. And then the other one I take is Subvert Expectations. So I like the crit damage on this. This lets you get all the way up towards cap. And this also gives a decent amount of attack power. It scales as your resource actually goes down. Maybe we can even test that. Let's see if I'm at 954 right now. Let's see what that ends up being. That looks like I'm below. So 972. Scales pretty decently. So stat-wise on the Confessor, pretty simple. You want to just pump int until you get all the way up to take as much intelligence as you can, pump that to max, rest in dexterity. Dex is really a lot of damage, and you get a little bit of defense as well. But it's just, every percent of crit strike for a Confessor, since they're running 200+% crit damage, is essentially another percent of damage. So you really just want to pump a lot of dex after you've captured your ints. Pretty basic. All right, let's talk about the bar setup now. So when you're looking at the powers, you pretty much don't even fill up the whole bar. You've got Firebolt. That's your flash cast. 2 Sen on the target. You want to weave that into your left click combo. get 5 stacks on somebody real fast. The only thing with this is you do end up, not proccing Careless Whispers as much. Maybe not proccing it as much just because you're using that for Sin instead of 5 left clicks for Careless Whispers, but I still like it. I mean, it's still very useful. This is the Tornado combo. Super important here. There's so many uses, so many different ways you can use this combo. So, I mean, for example, if I just want to get some mana back and or pop stealthers, I won't even go all the way through the combo. You can see this is giving me mana back, and it's huge, just huge aura for damage that'll pop stealthers out. So, and you see the uptime on it is pretty long. I mean, it's already back up again. I think it's maybe 75% uptime. So that's a use for that, as well as of course the tornadoes are a ton of damage on a Confessor, especially the Fanatic. So you want to use those pretty much on cooldown, especially in big fights. I mean, that's going to be most of your damage in a big GVG situation. The next power is Fire Wave, which if you are a Fanatic will crit if somebody's burning. So I'll show you the way I like to use this. If you really want to dump a ton of AoE, throw your tornadoes, and then right after they hit, let them hit first, because you got a good chance of proccing burning on those. You can throw throw a Hellfire Wave out or a Fire Wave out, and just tons of damage, tons of AoE damage all at once. So Redeemer is next, Redemption and Absolution. These are both finishers, but it's important to know how these two work. So they both scale on Sin, but Redeemer does not remove the Sin. So the combo on a Confessor is going to be get 5 stacks of Sin on somebody, then you want to do Redemption, and then you want to do Absolution. That way you get all the benefit from the Sin on Redemption, and then you get all the benefit from the Sin on Absolution, and Absolution is going to remove it. So I'll show you what that combo looks like. And there's 2 different ways to do it. You can go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, then Redeemer into Absolution. And you see that's some pretty sick damage there, because I procced Empowered Whispers on that. So the other way to do it, if you want to get the damage out real fast, is use Firebolt. So you go 1, 2, 3, Firebolt, animation cancel straight into Redeemer with the Absolution. But notice I've only got 3 Whispers up, so I did not get that extra 10% crit strike that way. But next power is kind of just a throw in, but can be useful at times. Condemnation. That's the flamethrower that. This is good for farming. I don't use it in PvP a whole lot unless it's just a real meat grinder of a fight, maybe inside of a fort cap or something like that, where, if this is my front line of tanks and I can stand right behind them in flamethrower, sometimes that's going to be better than just doing left clicks into a crowd of people. In those situations, you might throw some tornadoes, Fire Wave, and then Flamethrower, just for maximum AoE output, as much as you can get out, just tons of AoE damage. So, Vengeful Aura, that's just something you need to turn on at all times. Anytime you zone, you've got to turn that back on. Just remember to put that on. 75 attack power for everybody, very nice to have. The next is Rehabilitation. This, it says it's 500 point heal. I think it's closer to 670 because of the healing modifier. And the other thing is it can crit, and it scales, your critical healing scales with dex, your critical heal chance. So you've got a decent chance to crit it, and critical heal amount is fairly high on this character as well because of all the intelligence. You can see I've got basically 20% crit heal chance and 168% crit heal amount, so and good healing bonus as well. So I mean, this heal is pretty strong. So it can be significant when you heal. Now give me a moment. I'm gonna do some damage to myself, and then we can see how well it heals. So I'll probably clip this while I jump off of stuff to get my health down. Alright, so I had to jump off of something to so that I could show you guys how this heals. See if I can proc a crit heal or not. Here's another thing that's cool to do. So you can actually hit the heal and then alt, and it'll heal you while you're alted. So you see 671. Yep, 671 each tick, and I didn't get a crit that time. But still, very strong heal for 3 ticks. And you know, the last power, which I can show you guys how I use it now, is Call Flames. So there's several different ways you can use this. So this does a couple things. You get a 10% fire damage bonus. You actually apply a burn to everybody around you when you press it. So anybody that's around you when you activate this gets a burn applied to them. And it resets dodge, and really the resetting dodge is the most important part. So I mean, I use this defensively way more than I use it offensively. So, and I mean, the main reason is you can just cover a lot of ground with double dodging like that. That's your escape. I mean, it's just so useful. It's one of the main reasons I play Nathari, is for that double dodge. But if you want to see what it looks like offensively, or it can actually be a combination of both. Let's just say, for example, you know, if I'm fighting and I've got a guy that leaps to me, maybe he charges at me, maybe it's even a chain pull and my dodge is down. Let's just say, for example, he leaps at me, I dodge away, and then he chain pulls me to him. What I can do is, let's just, you know, say, let me get my dodge down. Okay, I get chain pulled to this target. I do that, dodge away, they're all dotted. Then they're burning, which means auto crit. So if you're ever going to use this offensively, it would be to put that burn dot on a bunch of people and then auto crit them. I'll occasionally hit it just for the fire damage bonus, but it's really rare that I do that. Probably the only time I'll hit it just for the fire damage bonus is if I'm killing a Bane tree or something, you know, a stationary target, something like that. I don't use it for the fire damage bonus a whole lot, especially since I think I run a pretty high fire damage bonus anyways. Yeah, I mean, I'm already at 22%. So that takes me up to 32%. You've also got a fire damage bonus that can come from other places, buffs and things that I don't run right now. I mean, you get a couple percent from buildings inside of keeps. There's the Archon God buff. There's a couple different ways to get, there's food for elemental damage bonus. There's a couple different ways to get fire damage bonus up pretty high. So I mainly use it for double dodge. Occasionally you can use it to apply a burning dot to somebody, and then very rarely you'll use it for the actual fire damage bonus. And really the last thing to know on a Confessor, you're pretty squishy on this character. You have to just be very quick on that Q ability. That Q is such a powerful power to be able to get away. Just know that it used to be that you would be invulnerable during this. You are not invulnerable. You get a damage reduction of 80%. So it's an 80% damage reduction, but you are not invulnerable during that. So it does work like a stealth in that someone that can see stealth can hit you, see you while you're in it, and hit you while you're in it, but it also isn't like stealth where it will break you out. No amount of damage, no damage will break you out of that stealth. But then it's also important to note that you can't use abilities while you're in it, and you can't cancel it. So, you know, you do have to be judicious when you're using this. But you know, if you're on a Fanatic and you're getting targeted, that's the first thing you want to do, is you just want to pop that. You'll notice it does blind as well, as you can see what happened on that elk. Do that, double dash. That's a good way to get away from some people. I mean, you can see I've really really covered some ground. So you just want to be really quick on that ultimate ability. That is your main defense on a Fanatic. Mobility, and then you've got a little bit of a heal. So anyways, guys, that pretty much wraps up this build. If you guys have any questions, leave them in the comments, and I'll be sure to get to them. All right, take it easy, guys. Later.